Hello and welcome to the Engerati studio here at the ENTSO-E annual conference in Brussels. I'm joined here by Bruno Lajoie, the co-founder of the startup Tomorrow. Bruno, welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're fresh from the stage here at ENTSO-E. Perhaps it would make sense for our viewers for you to explain what your startup's doing, and then we can go from there.
Yeah. So a quick recap. Tomorrow is a startup founded less than a year ago, and we try to quantify the climate impact of the daily choice every citizen makes. And we try to empower energy consumers and turn them into energy prosumers. So the first energy we've been looking at is electricity, because in the electric world, data is more available than any other energy market. And thanks to ENTSO-E's transparency platforms and other initiatives around the world, we've been able to build a tool that actually gives the information to the citizen about what is the electricity he is about to consume in real time. So the tool is called Electricity Map, and it gives information about what type of energy has been used to produce electricity. Are you right now consuming coal electricity or wind or nuclear? And informing the consumers about their carbon footprint could help them to actually take better informed decisions.
And what form does this take? Is it an app? Or?
It's an app and a website that is completely free and that provides real-time data and visualizations. And the business model around this startup is to monetize the historical data set that we've gathered on our database. So we provide statistical analysis for policymakers, journalists, or any energy intelligent company. And the second business model we're pursuing, which for me has more potential, is the actually forecast of the electric system in less 24 to 72 hours. Okay. Having a forecast of the carbon intensity of your electricity allows you, as a consumer, to actually anticipate and consume electricity at the right time.
Okay.
So if you have smart thermostats at home and you know that your electricity is going to be green in 2-3 hours from now, it's better to wait a bit to heat up a bit later, which in the end won't change a lot your comfort because of the thermal inertia of your house. And you can think about it for electric vehicles. I mean, if you buy an electric vehicle, you probably don't want it to be charged with coal electricity. So you might ask our API to provide directly the signal to the cars so that it can charge it at the right time and minimize your carbon footprint, for instance.
And we'll come back to some of the details later, but I just want to share with some of the viewers some of the job titles that you're advertising for on your website, and we'll come on to why in a moment. So the job titles you're currently advertising for are front-end full-stack developer, product UI and UX designer, and a data scientist. What do those job titles tell us about the energy transition?
Yeah, it's we're dealing with data in our company. It's the anecdote I would like to share is that Olivier and I, my co-founder and I, we are not based in the same city. I'm based in Paris, he's based in Copenhagen. And we've been able to build this company from scratch, completely at distance. And it tells you that the type of job that is demanded by I would say, to cope with the energy transition has to deal with data and real-time data. Because when you talk about variable renewables like wind and solar, you can't deal with them with yearly averages. You have to deal with them in real time. Their output fluctuates in real time, so everything related to dealing real-time data requires technical IT skills.
And in many of the discussions we've had with TSOs in the last day or two and at other events, they almost always acknowledge that startups are important, that more innovation is needed in the electricity sector. Theoretically and intellectually, that makes sense. Have you found that to be the case practically? Are TSOs and DSOs welcoming of startups and new ideas, or has it been hard work?
So we've started these companies thanks to the transparency of TSOs in their data. So their initiatives to my point of view, was really a success in terms of enabling others to do something with their data. Now, when we've showed them the result of our work, they were really interested and helped us a lot in advertising what we were doing. Because it's also a way for them to advertise that they can help the general public through these types of initiatives. And so they are very supportive in advertising. We hope to collaborate more with them business-wise and in terms of data sanity and be more closely related to their IT teams. It's not the case at the moment, but we hope that in the short term we can have closer links with them, yes.
Okay. And, part of your background and part of the founding of the business is based on climate change.
Yes.
It's your education, your work history.
Yeah.
How much has the dial turned from climate change being seen as about the well-being of the planet, and how much is it becoming an economic imperative? Where are we on that scale, and what needs to happen next?
Yeah, it's climate change is for me is an issue that has to be dealt with in two ways in parallel. The first is policymaking and top-down regulations, such as carbon tax. I'm personally in favor of a carbon tax at the end consumption point, which would actually change the behavior of consumers. But the second leg on which climate change fight has to stand is actually consumer individual responsibility. We strongly believe that individual choices do matters a lot when accumulated. They can change the way our economic system produces goods and energy. We therefore think that giving the information to the customers will actually responsibilize them related to climate change issues, yes.
And I guess your technology is part of that awakening
Yes.
for citizens. I think probably in different places in Europe, citizens are in different levels of sophistication in terms of their engagement with energy. Have you, geographically, do you need to approach things differently? Is there an education piece that's needed in particular countries? Are you starting in France? Yeah. Are you?
We see a bit the result of the debates that is created by our electricity map in the social networks. So we are used as graphical tools to, let's say, spur discussions related to policy makings. So we have a lot of citizens in Europe that actually discovers what their electricity is made of, because it has no colors, no flavor, you don't see what it looks like. But thanks to our tools, citizens in Poland discover that their electricity is mostly coal-based, while citizens in France realize that their electricity is almost carbon-free. A lot of debate in both ways happens, related also to nuclear electricity. Nuclear is a divergent, is an issue that is a power production type that actually splits points of views, right? And in the COP23, there has been a lot of debate related to the Energiewende in Germany, whether it was a good choice to anticipate the dismantling of nuclear power plants. And we are not politicized as a tomorrow, but we participate indirectly in political debates, yes. And so we see that it's awakening is the first step, and then it's being part of a citizen and vote for the type of changes you want.
Okay. And finally, maybe we'll end on what's the next step for your startup? What does the next 6 months look like?
Amazing. But yes, it's we'd like to connect to electric vehicles cars. We'd like to actually provide one single API for all electric vehicles throughout the world, or at least in the country we covered, which is about 70, to enable them to charge at the right time. Because the amount of power they will need to withdraw from the grid is huge, and it has to do with real-time optimizations.
And are the Is the automotive industry receptive to this? Is it, have you started those?
Yes,
those
very much. We're partnering with a consortium of electric vehicles called the Spark Initiative Project in Denmark. And we were testing the optimal charging of electric vehicles. And next step is the discharge back to the grid.
So what have you learned from that so far?
So we've learned that end customers, the clients of electric vehicles, they don't want to buy 50K electric vehicles just to save a few euros on their fuel recharge. They want to know what they have in their battery when they drive, is it carbon free or not. They want to know whether they make the good choice with these electric vehicles. So helping the drivers to know what they are consuming is actually also helping the sales of electric vehicles.
And do you expect that to change over time? I mean, you could potentially assume that people that have already invested in an electric vehicle are more climate conscious than your average citizen and potentially wealthier as well. Do you expect that over time that data is going to look different?
Yes, the earlier adopters are wealthy, climate conscious or geeks, because electricity and data are closely related. So it's not that's one of the reasons why Tesla company started in California. You know, the consumers are there. No, in a while, electric vehicles will become mainstream, and it will be more a question of needs for the stability of the grid. So there will need to be incentives for the customers to charge at the right time, not only for the sake of their climate consciousness.
Okay. Well, I'm conscious of time, and we could
Thank
probably
you very
talk
much.
about electric vehicles all day.
Great.
Bruno, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to following the progress of the startup.
All right, thank you.
And thank you for joining us in the Engerati studio here at the ENTSO-E annual conference in Brussels. Goodbye.